we have often talked a lot of times about the magic. I would say the magic of Devin Nunes's derp face. It's spectacular. It's so wonderfully consistent, and it gives us so much joy and happiness that when we literally just we click over to it, and it fills us with laughter, and it puts us in a sprightly mood, as it were. Now, not everybody is blessed with such a derpable face. I'm just saying. However, we might have, I worry that sometimes if he's not on the regular, we won't have that little lift, that little oomph, that little boop in our step, our boop in our step. And but thank God, DeSantis is really coming in with a close second. He's got that really bad laugh that's coming around, but almost every time, I haven't quite decided what his derp face is. It's like he walked in on someone who just dropped their towel and decided to pick it up while their leg was still up on the side of the tub. Or he thought he was off mic, he thought he was off camera, and then he was like, I'm good, I can't hold this fart in any longer, and he just kind of and then found out the mic was on, and that they had already cut to him. It's that's see what I'm saying? It's got that kind of but we'll see if he's got if at some point he's got the Reagan hair going. That's one of his big selling suits. He's got a big high-backed Supreme Court kind of chair at the governor's office. But you can't bullshit your way through swagger. Trump does it, but he's the last person. He's the last person allowed to. Damage report is horrifying, and I'll do a whole breakdown at some point. But all they do is print fodder for right-wing lunatics. It's just like it's a show built for people who are trying to touch the ends of a horseshoe. Don't get me started. That's his governor chair, his gubernational chair. All right. So, but this is he's fighting the woke. Obviously, he's going to be. I still use woke. Using woke is like saying swell. Unless you're Dirty Harry, it just doesn't fly. Governor Ron DeSantis traces the roots of woke ideology and why Florida is where woke goes to die. Okay, first of all, Florida is where everything goes to die. Elderly people, meth heads, people who occasionally have had the idea that fucking an alligator is a reasonable hobby. That's where those people go to die. Woke goes to die. Well, I mean, if you're going to bury a term that has next to no meaning amongst the people that you consider your enemy at this point, it's just so weird. Like, again, it always sounds like the dad in Better Off Dead looking at a book of slang. Hey, asking about Mary Jane. You know what I'm saying? All right. So let's go. I'm curious. So are you. And apparently, I don't know these fellows, but apparently this guy's the governor of Florida, and he's being interviewed by a golf coach from a high school. Sorry. Doesn't that if Dinesh, if you didn't know who Dinesh D'Souza was, and he just walked into the room, wouldn't you just do that? Wouldn't you just go, who invited the golf coach from the local high school? Yeah. And people would go, no, that guy's a felon. Oh, fuck. All right. All right, here we go.
I'm back with the 46th governor of Florida, Ron DeSantis.
Oh, shit. We missed the first part of this. It must have been magic. Look how happy he is. He's excited to be back.
You can follow him on Twitter at GovRonDeSantis.
But never at Prez Ron DeSantis. Just saying.
Ron, it's, wow. This
Yeah, wow. Hey, thanks. Get into
woke phenomenon, I won't say came out of nowhere. In fact, I'd been writing about political correctness going back to the 1990s. It's been around in some form.
Yeah, not the same thing.
But the rapidity of its takeover of these major institutions, I mean, I suppose to some degree we can.
Yeah, it's like a rubber band. They pulled back the racist band back, and then finally it snapped because nobody was like, I can't be that racist. At some point, I gotta stop being a bigot. This is just, otherwise it'll put your eye out.
Can say we expected it in academia, maybe we expected it in the media.
You've already lost him. By the way, I think this is his tough guy face. But he's got a bit of lower pouty lip.
But we've all often thought about the military as a conservative institution, corporate America as reasonably conservative,
Yeah, except that whole like chicks thing from the 80s where they started hiring chicks, you know what I mean? We all look past that. I mean, I saw Working Girl, but I just thought, I thought I saw the title and I was so wrong, but I couldn't tell anybody that that's why I went and saw it.
FBI as a conservative police agency of government did.
No, it should be an apolitical. These should all be apolitical. They should all be apolitical.
Disney as conservative in the sense that Disney for decades promoted a kind of Americana. How do you account?
Yes, nothing more Americana than kissing a woman who's in a coma. Especially one that was poisoned by her stepmother while she shapeshifted. That's kind of sit around the campfire, family tales. We've all learned to, all right.
Out for the deep penetration of.
Why did you have to, you can't decry the lack of Americana and family values and then go straight to deep penetration. The mess.
This woke madness into previously conservative institutions.
I think it's a function of our education system. I mean, I remember being on campus and, with some of these Ivy League schools, the nonsense that's there. And I always told myself, this is crazy.
By the way, in case you're confused, he's talking about the facts they teach in class. He was like, this is nuts.
But the minute they get into the real world, none of this stuff's going to fly. So it's kind of harmless. Well, I think really the joke was on people like us, because what happened.
Yeah, that's amazingly self-reflective.
Is as these people got into these different institutions in society over the last couple decades, they are bringing with them a worldview. And it's really a worldview that's synonymous with the people in our ruling class, people in these institutions.
Okay, first of all, fuckhead, we don't have a ruling class. We don't. Stop it. Like this, the irony is this dickhead decrying wokeism is talking exactly like a far left lunatic who believes that, that in the establishment Illuminati deep state that's running the whole thing, and the 1% of the 1% won't even allowing the allowance. They only, and then if you do win, if you do get something you want, they only let that through because what we could have had would have been so much better. Like, shut the fuck up. Ruling class, you're the governor of Florida, you fucking putz.
Who think it's their right to govern us, even without our consent.
You're a governor. You should have no federal say whatsoever. And
so all the assumptions that they bring to bear about our country and society are shared across institutions. And it's not like they're even.
And that's bad enough. Sharing itself. Ugh. Can I get a sharing is not caring. Sharing is scaring. Um, if you share a dysfunctional or an unfunctional system with other people, it will either lose its function or those people will find themselves to be portrayed as liars or fools later. So if something is spreading, a lot of times, unless it is absolutely true or part of a greater truth or supports a greater truth, it will fall away naturally. Never mind.
Coordinating this. It's just a natural outgrowth of the intellectual foundation they carry themselves with. But you're right to think about.
Which would be what? That we hold these truths to be self-evident, that all men are created equal, and that means mankind, humankind, humans are created. No? All right.
Like I'm a
Apparently that's some sort of like elitist thing.
Navy veteran, and I was proud to wear the cloth of the country, the great people.
The cloth of the country. You were in the Navy. You weren't a fucking Americana priest. Maybe that's what he thinks he is. Shit. Whoops. Get in here. Stupid. Start playing.
I was proud of the service. You know, Jack Kennedy said, if you look back on your life and say, you know, I served in the Navy, you could have a great deal of satisfaction. Well, now what do you see? You see them recruiting with like using drag queens and doing stuff with the pronouns and all this other stuff.
Yeah, it's almost as if anyone could serve their nation. And how you express yourself is immaterial to the rights and privileges of being a United States citizen. It's almost as if, work with me on this, that you have the freedom. I think that's the word. The freedom to live how you want. Nah, it's just fucking nuts. I don't know what I was thinking.
That's part of the main reason recruiting is so low. So I do think
because U.S. servicemen have always been scared off by men dressed as women if they've never been to Thailand, anyways.
As you looked at the battles with the left in the past, their imprint on society is much broader today than it was 30 or 40 years ago. We knew.
Well, thank you. Thanks very much. I agree. We have been winning. I'm not against taking the W. Pa-pow. I feel that my work on Queer as Folk, I played a part in helping to, what little part I could play, but guarantee an understanding in the social fabric of the country that allowed a broader audience of human beings to respect the freedoms of some of my fellow Americans, that while they may love differently than me, in a material sense, they did not love differently from me on an emotional sense. And I was glad I was a part of it. And I think you're absolutely right that we took a big fucking W with that one. And you're not going to put that genie back in the bottle no matter how you try. And on women's rights as well, I feel like we made huge steps forward. Now, obviously, there's been a recent pushback, but I feel like that's going to bite you in the ass anyways and keep you from getting elected. And what else? Well, I mean, I certainly think there's been a lot of movement on union rights and the like. So sure, yeah, it's been good. I mean, it does have something to do with the fact that the economy always does better when Democrats are in office. So we can't take it's not all social.
We had to battle them in the halls of legislatures and in the halls of the Congress. We knew things.
Yeah, but only like the ones in wheelchairs who just don't want their VA benefits or their Medicare or Medicaid cut off. I mean, it's not quite a battle.
Things like academia were going to be what they were. But I think a lot of us viewed in the past institutions like businesses as being more neutral, and places like the military.
Yeah, they are. The businesses are neutral. The problem is they are dealing with your overcompensation, not the other way around. See, the society's version of neutral, that area where most of society is okay with something, has moved around quite a bit over the years. It was, women's rights, minority rights, and gay rights, all but verboten across the globe in a lot of countries a couple hundred years ago. And the creation of this country actually was a bellwether in the equality movement of humanity in general. It's one of the reasons why I love the country. As that's even moved here over time, you see. And you have lurched to the right because you're selling to a small group of people. I understand it. You got a minor audience. You're trying. You have to win over that minor audience before you can get. They'll let you into the majors, right? And the problem is, it's getting harder and harder to play to the base and then move to the center as you go along, especially in your case. When you lurch to the right, it looks like the rest of the world has lurched to the left when it fucking well hasn't. It's just people are people now. Like a lot of these aspects of life that were considered left, or even some that were considered right, are now part of the normal aspect of culture because we, as a democracy, we bounce this, these ideas back and forth. What's the best message? We eventually get around to maybe understanding there's a problem, and then we bounce back and forth on what could possibly be the best solution, and then we stop working on it because it's all but solved until some dickhead rolls in and goes, "I never liked how that turned out. I wasn't consulted." Like, well, tough. Welcome to the world of a minority situation. In terms of thought.
Even exemplifying conservative values, and those days are over. And that's why it's important that we fight back and reclaim these institutions.
No, you have to earn them through a series of behaviors. You've lost the fucking church. I mean, it's one thing to say you've gutted, you can gut college campuses of social movements, which, go back to to the fucking hippies, and they've been pushing this line forever. That, it's the radicals on campus that are turning everybody against the war and blah, blah, blah. That's always been a fucking fight. Oh, by the way, can I share something with you guys? Hold on 1 second. This today pissed me off. I found this kind of, I don't know if I'm surprised, but it's in my wheelhouse of annoyance. It was on the Daily Beast ran an article, I think, was it? Where's the thing? Where's the Berkeley story? I posted it earlier. Let's see. Where'd you go? Hold on. Let me do this. Daily Beast. Or maybe it wasn't. Maybe it was, yeah, there it is. Yeah. This is kind of a big deal. Kind of a big deal. It is a big deal. Berkeley's $220 million mistake exposed in massive deal with China. So UC Berkeley, colleges are supposed to report any donation of over $250,000 from any foreign entity. By the way, that's fucking high. $250,000, that's a lot, especially since, it's maybe in some ways quarterly or individually, that you can do it over time, or they can do one of these sort of Mitt Romney LLCs where they can, it pops up overnight, gives you 250 grand, disappears, another one pops up the next day under a slightly different name, gives you 250, and you don't have to fucking report it? What the shit? Well, apparently, UC Berkeley has failed to disclose to the U.S. government and us a massive Chinese state funding for a highly sensitive $240 million joint tech venture in China that has been running for the last 8 years. Now, a little bit. I know what you're thinking, but Hal, I thought Biden would be okay with this. It seems odd to me that they would get caught during the Biden administration. It seems like they would cover that right up. Unlike, let's say, the first 2 years of it during the end of or the last year of it or so, the tail end of the Obama administration, where it was so small they hadn't quite, the ink wasn't dry yet, although they were supposed to report it immediately. They didn't. But the money really started to flow during the Trump administration. And then they got it out. Okay, the Californian University has not registered with the U.S. government that it received huge financial support from the city of Shenzhen. That's the big computer tech center of China. They always talk about Shenzhen being the city of the future. By the way, they dismantle more electronics there than they create. I'm not kidding. For a tech project inside China, which also included partnerships with Chinese companies that have since been sanctioned by the U.S. or accused of complicity in human rights abuses. Forced labor. Berkeley. Fucking Berkeley. Hippie Berkeley. Berkeley canceling everybody. Cancel culture Berkeley, who's been kicking out right-wingers who talk a lot of shit, but none of them are... maybe some of them would want to enslave people. None of them have gotten around to it or ever been in a position where they actually fucking could. Meanwhile, Berkeley, yeah, you get me? All right. The university has failed to declare $220 million investment from the municipal government of Shenzhen to build a research campus in China. A Berkeley spokesperson told the Daily Beast the university had yet to declare the investment, announced in 2018, because the campus is still under construction. That's not the rule. Hold on. This is very small. I'm going to bring this up for you guys. Because the campus is still under construction. Jesus Christ. Berkeley. Again, San Francisco. Hippie Berkeley. Because obviously the idea is communists and we like communists and they're commie. Is that the idea? Berkeley's like okay with anything the Chinese Communist Party does because they view it as a communist country instead of a capitalist autocracy that uses the name. Jesus Christ. Anyways, let's see. However, a former Department of Education official who used to help manage the department's foreign gifts and contract disclosure program said the investment agreements must be disclosed within 6 months of signing, not when they are fully executed. Berkeley admitted that it had also failed to disclose to the U.S. government a $19 million contract in 2016 with Tsinghua University, which is controlled by the Chinese government's Ministry of Education. The project's Chinese backers promised lavish funding, state-of-the-art equipment, and smart PhD students for Berkeley academics researching national security sensitive top technologies, according to contract documents obtained exclusively by the Daily Beast. After the project got underway, Berkeley researchers granted Chinese officials private tours of their cutting-edge U.S. semiconductor facilities and gave priority commercialization rights for intellectual properties they produced to the Chinese government-backed funds. For fuck's sake. And TBSI is the Berkeley Sino Institute or whatever that they created this TBSI thing. Let's see. It didn't. The Berkeley spokesperson said that Berkeley only pursued fundamental research through TBSI, meaning that all research projects were eventually publicly published and accessible to all. It did not conduct any proprietary research that exclusively benefited a Chinese entity. Yet, that's why they bring you over there, dumb fuck, so they don't have to share their. Never mind. Still, Berkeley ties to the Chinese government and sanctioned Chinese companies sure to raise eyebrows in Washington. Under the radar. The project is called the Tsinghua Berkeley Shenzhen Institute. There it is. Tsinghua Berkeley Shenzhen Institute, TBSI. A joint research initiative backed by Berkeley and Tsinghua University, a top science school, often called China's MIT, which is also Hui. It's honest to God, it's China's DeVry. No shame in that. That's what it is. The Institute's website shows dozens of Chinese companies, including Huawei and others sanctioned by the U.S. government, also supported the Institute as industrial advisors. Through TBSI, Berkeley built an unusually close partnership with the Chinese government. Berkeley then Vice Chancellor Patrick Schlesinger said in 2015 that, quote, active participation of the Shenzhen municipal government is an unusual feature of TBSI that sets it apart from other U.S. universities, according to meetings minutes obtained by the Daily Beast. Yes, it is. It is unusual for governments of Chinese provinces around their highest tech sector to be involved. It is an unusual feature. And yet Berkeley never disclosed a single cent of the financial support it received from Chinese sources to the federal government for TBSI. If the facts are as Berkeley's documents seem to assert, this is exactly what universities must report. To this day, TBSI remains one of the most fully realized examples of U.S.-China research collaboration. In the 2021 fiscal year, the Institute hosted 586 students from across the world and pumped out more than 130 science and engineering articles. According to its website, at least 20 Berkeley academics participated in TBSI, working alongside dozens of Chinese and international colleagues. At its peak, the Institute hosted 18 laboratories located within 3 research centers, each focused on a research area relevant to national security, data science, and IT, environmental science and new energy production, and public health and precision medicine. Since the early days of the Institute, the Chinese government has occupied 3 out of 11 seats on the governing board. According to 2015 Berkeley document, Shenzhen's then mayor Shu Qin attended the 2014 signing ceremony that launched the Institute. Blah blah blah. I want to see where the where they discovered it. Still, Berkeley is not okay. $19 million spread over 5 years from 2016. That's never reported. Yeah, see, that's what I was saying. That 250, they dropped it in drips and drabs. However, according to the 2019, under the new rule, whenever they signed the contract, they had to report obligation within 6 months. A bunch of perks, yada yada. It's a long fucking. They broke this shit down. There's the Tsinghua Uni president shaking hands with the Berkeley dean, having a great time. In addition to funding, blah blah blah. Now, again, I would chalk a lot of this shit up to boiling frog syndrome with some of these folks. But considering it's Berkeley, I'm gonna call bullshit on a bunch of this stuff. Just throwing that in there, if I may. And by the way, hold on one second. Chat room, hi, there you go. Never mind what, artist, what I missed. Bearing the facts. I'm going to ask a ridiculous question, Hal. Can you please clarify between Berkeley the Sandals and Berkeley the other corp? I think it's a Berkeley. This is Berkeley University outside of San Francisco. Yeah, the heads of California State School are bureaucrats. Everybody's a bureaucrat if you work in a administrative job, technically. And also, I guess there's some differentiation, and this is a good, clarification to make, is that just because you work in sort of the bureaucracy of something does not mean you're a bureaucrat. I guess technically speaking, where that used to be the pejorative, bureaucrat used to be the pejorative before deep state, because bureaucrat is the idea that these guys, they're not a Democrat or what have you, they're a bureaucrat, meaning that they're their own party that hides behind the scenes and da da da. So even still, it's not thinking, and they get, the Board of Regents and those folks, they get voted in too, slightly different. Bureaucrat's the kind of word that was dreamt up around the same time as panhandler. Panhandler is a joke that started out around people hunting for gold and ended up being a pejorative for bums, like street bums who used to have they'd have a pan out, waiting for people to give him, what's his job? He's a panhandler. He holds a pan. Anyways, back to whatever this asshole thinks is going on. Yeah.
I saw a video on social media just a day or two ago, and it
that's your afternoon, Dinesh? I mean, none of us are surprised you aren't saying, I read a book where...
It was this Taliban guy, and he had in front of him a big piano and some musical instruments that he was smashing with a hammer. Now, the reason I mention this is that if I'd seen this same video a decade ago, I would have been like, Look, this is the kind of madness that goes on. This is the kind of suppression of talent, of creativity that is characteristic of these unfree societies. But then it occurred to me today, I sort of have a mixed feeling about this because I look at that and I go, in some form, that's going on in America. Obviously.
Bullshit. You're talking to the book burner, you dumb son of a bitch. What? You're literally this idiot is literally making the case that, like, book burning bad. Yeah, I agree. And this dickhead doesn't. Good Lord.
People aren't smashing musical instruments, but they're smashing statues. They're going after creative people because they don't.
Creative people?
Subscribe to woke ideology. So.
No, they're not. No, they aren't. You know how actively bigoted or stupid you have to be for anybody to come after you? Do you have any idea how broad the spectrum of politics there is in Hollywood in general and in the music industry? And most people, just like your average fucking person working in an insurance firm, don't talk about it or aren't as engaged or aren't as dug in as, as the slacktivists like him. So they don't bring it up. So it doesn't become a problem. So nobody cares. They just vote the way they vote, treat people the way they treat people, and that's that.
Is it the case now that the line between us and them, between the free and the unfree, is more blurred than before?
Get the fuck out of here. No. You don't believe me? He's Indian. He couldn't walk around most of Pakistan, if not all of it, and all of the Pakistani and Taliban-held regions of Afghanistan. Yes. As soon as you get off the fucking plane, you will see how very distinct that fucking line is, dummy. What?
And we have a real fight.
Yeah. There's a guy from the Taliban destroying musical instruments so no one can use them, and then you get 12-hour bans occasionally on Twitter when you have 9 other social media sites you can use. Good fucking Lord. This is like the whining.
To protect, if freedom is going to be we're going to be a beacon of freedom around the world, we've got to consolidate it here first, right?
Yes, absolutism. That's right. Ron, tell him how free speech covers child porn. We'll wait. I can't. All right.
Well, think about what's going on these college campuses.
Yeah, think about what's going on in these college campuses.
Look what happened at Stanford Law School, where they shout down a federal judge. Look how they treated the swimmer Riley Gaines at San Francisco State University.
Oh my God, there's like 3,200 universities. I can pick out 2 moments where the student body didn't like who was talking, and that's the end of freedom. I mean, sure, there's a case to be made that this one person is exercising their freedom of speech, and all the other people there are exercising their freedom of speech, and the university kind of sets the rules pro or against chaos because they're not managed well. But I mean, if you can't say anything you want everywhere you want it, even on private property, what freedom do we have?
You have these centers which are trying to impose orthodoxy, and they don't allow any dissent.
Oh, you mean like Florida? The blindness.
I've told our folks here in Florida's university system.
By the way, folks comes from Volks, as in the German word for comrade. That's where Volkswagen comes from. Volks is was an early National Socialist Party word for your fellow country people. And there's been a lot of worry over time that when Obama said, folks, all the time, that was because he was taught by Saul Alinsky to use communist code words and the like. But I guess that was all. I guess that was all bullshit, I think.
If you have behavior like Stanford Law School from these students or San Francisco State, those kids should be expelled from school.
Are you going to pass a law that they are, so that when you become president, you're gonna say that, like, stick the federal government on them? That's a good idea. That sounds like freedom to me. Go for it.
And guess what would happen if you just did that one time?
Everybody on the campus would walk out in the name of free speech. Also, each of these schools, because parents tend to send their kids to schools that are, like-minded and the like, that they would stop doing that and they would lose hundreds of thousands, if not millions of dollars a year. No, we're just not even gonna think. We're not thinking this through, are we? We think that you just go around flicking light switches until you see which one does which light. Is that how we're gonna do it?
You'd see a change in the culture, but as it's now, academia, they let the inmates run the asylum. So I think we're in a situation where you have rigid orthodoxy being imposed, particularly in some of these monolithic intellectual senators like university.
Monolithic intellectual centers like universities. Nothing says I think pro-America, like going after the university system, which is one of the reasons why our country has excelled over the years. I know most people don't think that way in Florida, and I know for a fact there's a bunch of people who ain't never gone to university who are perfectly smart like they am. Okay, look, there are two things I remember from my time on university. The main one was, of course, that I was violating a restraining order. And the second one is that when they tell you don't whiz on the electric fence, that's just because they trying to yuck your yum.
And there's a lot of people, Dinesh, as we fought against this in our universities. And
why are you punching people at universities? What do you mean fought? You mean like, you ever seen a boxing match? I'm just curious, because they say fight, and I don't know what the fuck they're talking about. I hear this a lot. I hear people talking about politics, and they say, we got to fight, we gonna fight and fight. Now, I've been in a couple of fights. That's how I got 2 of these teeth paid for. Got them put back in. They was gone. And anyways, they always saying, we gonna fight for you, we gonna fight for you. I have never, in my fucking life, ever watched a boxing match where they touch gloves, each go to their corner, and then write out what the outcome of what the fight should be, and then let the other one on the other side offer amendments to these outcome of the fight, and then the referee counts the votes on who wrote the most, I don't know, punches on the paper. I don't know if they just doodle a bunch of hits. And I've never seen a fight like that in my fucking life. And I've stayed awake during, I'd say, a good 40% of the fights I've been in.
Put conservative trustees on places like New College, where we're really getting rid of the DEI framework and everything across.
DEI is diversity, equity, and inclusion. Now, I don't know how you can be necessarily against those 3 things unless there's a code for something else.
There are like left of center professors around the country who are interested in coming to Florida, because even for them, they're walking on eggshells.
Yeah, but they only do that because they're, pedos or something. They just hiding. That sometimes, you wear the mask. That's what that sheep's clothing thing is, man. Sometimes these wolves put on sheep's clothing so they can get close to the sheep. Know what I'm saying? So they, of course, they given half a chance. You can go down there and pretend, they can act like they sheep, and they don't even, if the skin slips every so often, don't fucking matter.
Shells. If they say one wrong thing, that could be the end of their career.
Well, I will have to say that one wrong thing is probably something like the Holocaust didn't happen. I mean, it's not like they singularly accidentally misgendering somebody's gonna get them kicked to the curb, dumb fuck. They's got, I mean, you gotta really, to do it in one fell swoop, you got to you gotta get all laid up with the dumbass and whatever you're saying.
If you're violating the canons of wokeism. And so I really believe that the woke ideology is a mortal threat to a free society.
A mortal it's gonna stab a dagger right in the heart of somebody and everybody.
And if we lose these looming battles over the next 5 or 10 years,
I got news for you. You're gonna. I'm sure some other people gonna win some fights, but you ain't gonna be one of them, son.
I think it's going to be very difficult to recover from that.
I'm finding it very difficult to recover from you.
Talk for a minute about this phenomenon called ESG, because it seems to me to...
Oh, ESG, that's terrible. That's where we go, extra sauce, governor. And it's always a mistake. Because the chef knows what he's doing. He puts plenty of sauce on there. You ask for extra, you're going to be... You're going to be repainting the inside of the toilet. That's what you're going to be doing.
A way in which these huge conglomerations of investment capital are...
Oh, yeah. That's the thing about big commie money.
Are able to manipulate companies into following a climate agenda, kind of a fanatical climate agenda.
Yeah, that's crazy. Like, it's almost as if there are these people that, like, worship the sky or something in it. And they look up all the time. They're like, praise be, like a bunch of dumbasses. And they just worship this thing they can't even see, like the climate or other things in generally that fit that analogy as well.
By essentially saying that we will give a black mark against you that will make it difficult for you to raise capital if you don't conform.
And I'm just, follow me on this mess. Listen here, son. Let me put this to you. I'm going to float this idea. I hope you like it. It's going to be a reach, but come on now. Let's just say they only want to invest in companies that will make sure that there's a planet here in the future, because you can't do business on a cinder. Is that any that getting through you? No?
So,
I was just taking a shot at it. I get giving it a shot.
Florida is one of the states that is pushing back against ESG. How?
Well, first of all, they get real lubed up, and then they take this ring and they squeeze it on. He'll draw you a picture. Hold on.
Well, first, what they're trying to do with ESG, I mean, they're trying to marshal considerable financial resources to change policy,
and you're not
change our society without.
And you're not
having to go through the normal legislative and constitutional process.
So I get you. I hear what you're saying. I see what you're saying, and it's a terrible thing they're trying to do. So what he's trying to tell you is that they trying to do stuff, that deals with life and the environment and social interactions and all that stuff. They're trying, these people trying to do stuff and not involve the government, which apparently with Republicans nowadays is a no-no. You must always, okay, good. So new conservative thought. Everybody mark that down in your notebook there. Everything must go through the government first. Otherwise, it don't count. You need you a do-over.
They're people that don't stand for election. They're not accountable to the electorate. And
yeah, you mean like every CEO and every employee and every union member and non-union member and everybody working at Dairy Queen and everybody in the... Why don't we vote on where everybody drives when they leave the house? It seems like it would be safer that way.
so our view in Florida is very simple. No social or economic transformation without representation.
Yeah, so, all right, okay. Government control of all social movements. Okay, cool. And that's totally unlike China. Okay, great.
We're going to fight back against ESG. We've banned ESG from being used in our state pension fund.
Well, you didn't ban it. You just didn't give them the leeway to make money that way. They can only make money. They can only try to make money in ways that don't satisfy any of the ESG standards.
Which is a $180 billion fund, very significant.
Well, it'll be smaller.
We've also said no to using ESG for government procurement at the local or state level.
I see. So, like, if y'all need, let's say you're having a big, cookout or something, and you're going to use paper plates, and your choice is between a local, environmentally conscious, socially forward, pro-democracy family business there in Florida, or the Saudis, and the Saudis are cheaper with they paper plates, you gonna go straight for them paper plates. I'm sorry, that was my mistake. That's not what you're saying at all. What you're saying is, if they're both the same price, you go with the Saudis still. Okay. That seems fair.
We've also said the rating agencies, when they're grading municipal or state bonds, are not allowed to use ESG scores as part of the credit rating.
Well, that's because, it wouldn't satisfy. Environmentally, all of Florida smells like oil. Used to smell like suntan oil. Now it just smells like grease. Socially, just look up Florida Man and your fucking birthday. Dude, you know how hard it is to embarrass me? And government, just ass on all fronts.
On the rating agencies, basically. And so if they do that, they're going to lose business from the state of Florida.
Yeah, I'm sure they're all broken up about that.
And then we provided support for Floridians against woke banking. Because what's
I'm sorry. I gotta say, woke banking just sounds fucking dumb. Woke banking. Dude, they don't open till noon on Saturday.
happening is you have Wall Street banks that collude to try to marginalize people they disagree with. Yes, it could be involving so-called global warming and all these other things, but it's also anti-Second Amendment. It's also anti-thing.
Well, no, I don't think they, they ain't going to kick like Sig Sauer or Winchester or any of them. They ain't going to lose their fucking accounts. But like if somebody is like a pro school shooting account on Telegram, I would guess it would be hard to be a good Citibank customer or some shit. Also, who gives a fuck?
Things that just don't conform with the modern day leftist agenda.
Or, civil society where people just want to be able to go to the grocery store without getting their ass shot off. By the way, I am not one of them. I grew up in Appalachia. You expect a little buckshot in your behind. Just that's the way you get up in the morning. That's it. That's you get along. Come on.
That is changing policy without having to actually go through the process. And so I think on a...
So what you're saying is, if private companies and private individuals decide they have a line that they will not cross and that they are not comfortable with, then you're just gonna, that's a violation of freedoms, so you cutting that shit right out. So if the Catholic Church or the evangelicals want to excommunicate somebody because they had an abortion, they got divorced, something like that, or they ain't sufficiently anti-abortion or something like that, you're just not even going to let those people move to Florida, or not let the churches go to Florida. So the Baptists, Southern Baptists, you ain't supposed to dance, man. They ain't no dancing in Florida. Because it sounds like you're picking and choosing.
Fundamental level, ESG is trying to impose bad policy, which is significant because I think it would do serious damage to the country.
But they can't impose policy. They can just say, not in my fucking sandbox. And if their sandbox becomes unprofitable or fun, look how smart I'm getting. Sorry. What I was saying was,
on a more fundamental than that, it's just who governs society. Do we govern ourselves under written constitutions, or do these captains of industry and the asset managers, do they have a special place where they get to go on an ideological joyride, and then we're basically left picking up the bill for the destruction that they wrought?
Okay, so we're just going to land on the fact that this dumb motherfucker thinks this is how you sneak in total and absolute government control over what everybody does in their fucking free time inside their own families and with their own thoughts and their own businesses. If they want to do something with their business that's none of your fucking business, then somehow everybody else, like the government gets to shut them down? What kind of fucking Republican is this? I gotta tell you, man, this sounds like some fucking Stalin bullshit, man.
I can see why people say that Florida is the place where woke goes to die. Governor Ron DeSantis, thank you very much for joining me.
What? Well, look, okay, I got news for you, man. Anybody who's dead ain't never gonna wake up. There's only been one person who has died and come back to life. Okay, one. In the whole history of the whole history, okay? And that was my friend Earl, man. He got hit by a fucking, all right, we was at a baseball game. And he's weird, man. He doesn't get, like, they's walking around, they got Coors on one side, because it was at the state line. And they got Coors on half the stadium, and then they got, hold on. Where was I? Oh, yeah. They got Coors on one side of the fucking stadium, and they got Miller Lite on the other. And he was like, I want me some fucking Coors. But we was on the Miller Lite side. And I said, well, that ain't hard. Just get up, go up the stairs, walk around. Because we'd won these tickets on the radio. I done this radio fucking contest. And where you call in and they make you guess like 19 fucking songs by one note each. And I had that fucking prattle down. Now, I to be completely fair, I cheated my ass off. I did not memorize them or whatever. I had a friend who worked there who I had bailed out on multiple occasions. One time dug him straight out of the county jail. The hole's still there in the floor. And he was in the other, he's whispering, and I was just, I just going from one ear to the, I turned these phones upside down. I held them like that. He just read them off. Anyways, we won these tickets. And my friend Earl, he wants fucking Coors Light. And he doesn't want to walk up the stairs because he's still got that gimpy leg from that flesh-eating bacteria that he got from that woman in Knoxville. Anyway, so we're sitting there and he just goes, why do I have to walk all the way up there, go around, come down the other side? He's right there. I can fucking see him. And damn if that motherfucker didn't hop right over the little fence there that they had to keep the foul balls from knocking more of your teeth out. By the way, I caught 2 balls in my mouth, no pun intended. It's another story for another time. At that very same game and didn't chip a tooth because they missed. Anyways, so he hops over. Middle of this fucking, he's just walking straight across the fucking field. And I have never, right about that time, he's marching straight across and he's just got Coors on the brain. He's got Coors on the brain. And he's just trucking across there, dragging that gimpy leg. And right at that second, the pitcher winds up, and this dude had a fastball, it was like 97 miles an hour. And he just and it goes zing like this. And it hit Earl boom, hit him so hard in the head, it knocked his head sideways, just laid him out fucking flat, like midair. It's like his feet swept up, and the ball was going so fast, it kept going. And the dude at the plate, I mean, I don't know where his reflexes he got from, like ninja school or something, but he caught a piece of that thing and crack like that. Now it dinged down a little bit, bounced off the ground and ricocheted up. Was going to go in sort of like a ricochet pop fly, and right as Earl was coming down, it just bam, pow, hit him on the other side of the head, set him straight up. And he just kept walking like 4 more steps, and then dead, fell dead. Right there on, like, they walked over to him. Everybody was shocked. Here's this man, and he's walked 4 steps and keeled over right there in the baseball. Obviously, everyone was shocked. Jumbotron right on this guy, right at the second. And he goes, hey, I'm dead serious. And they walk over, they check his pulse, and they say, hey, he's dead. He's dead. And I was like, oh, Lordy. You know, the Lord giveth and he taketh away. I cheated and I got these tickets, and it's my fault. Had I not cheated, we'd have not gotten these tickets. So I ran my ass off. Everybody's not paying attention. That Coors guy's just standing there holding his thing. He's just dumbfounded, eyes as big as dinner plates. And I snatched up one of them fucking Coors, and I booked over her, man, and I kicked Earl right over. And I lift him up by his shirt, and I took that Coors, man, and I turned it upside down and pop like that. And I'd be goddamn if I didn't Popeye that fucking Coors right down his throat. And then I gave him a good shake like that, and eyes popped open. He's back from the other side, and they finished the game and lost $12 on it. I mean, it's kind of a letdown at the end, but Earl's still alive. No, Earl did not die. Earl made it. But I would like to say, for the record, if I may, and I think I can, that Earl, later on, Earl would continually tell the story of his, what he called his NDE. If you're not familiar, that's what we'd call a near-death experience. You hear? And I was like, dude, I saw you. That was a near life experience. Yeah, most of that experience happened when you were dead. You just near life. And anyways, he'll tell that story, and it gets longer every time. He was dead for maybe about 85 seconds, because I can fucking run. Okay. And Earl, yes. And Earl, when he came back from the other side, he had seen this great light that said, we told him, it ain't your time, Earl. Go on back to earth and spread the good word and spread the good news and tell everybody the joyous message. And the first thing he said when he woke up is, I don't have BD no more. Because that's what he thought, that was his idea of good news. You understand? And it's a mistake anybody can make. I've never made it, but anybody but me. So anyway, I just thought I'd bring y'all back to that, and but he woke without being woke, which I think is amazing. Now, back to our regularly scheduled programming. I'll see y'all later, because this tape, I don't even know what the fuck. No idea where that story was going. I don't think you did either. I was I just I'm just happy to be along for the ride. I can I just take a moment to say I love you, Second City, and I appreciate all the gifts you gave me. Because Second City taught me to yes and even myself. All right. I so wish there was a way I could do him live. I got to find a way to like black out a bunch of my teeth